When you have children, you don't make money. You are usually going backwards. It's not the time of your life where you're running 100 miles an hour forward, you're buying properties, you do all these sort of things. You're just trying to financially just stop the bleeding. So you need to plan for all this stuff before the child comes, ideally before you get pregnant, and go, what are we going to do in terms of parental leave? Is it paid? Is it unpaid? If one of us isn't working, how much are we going backwards on a monthly, fortnightly basis?
Welcome to Checks and Balances. I'm Michael Vincent. This is James Blair. And today we've got an extra special guest, Chairman of the Board, Cooper Blair, here to talk about expecting expenses, 5 financial tips for new parents.
We're back in your life. And I got a little bit caught out this recording session, got to be honest, Mike. So Hannah reminded me that I was looking after Cooper today. I forgot. And here we are. So we're going to do a quick fire episode that's definitely not going longer than 10 minutes. And I thought, well, Cooper's eating a few crackers. It'd probably be nice to, I'd like to say I've learned a thing or two. Hannah's learned most of those things. I just come along for the ride. But do you want a cracker?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
So Mike, we're going to talk about some tips when it comes to money for new parents.
We are going to talk about tips. So let's start with creating a baby budget, right? We've got to do some estimates of costs maybe. Jimmy, why don't you run me through some of those costs? What does a baby budget look like?
Yeah.
Are we talking a small budget or a budget for a baby?
It's probably the size of some of these guys, number twos.
It's not about the size of the budget.
So there's 2 different types of costs, I would say. The first one is the ones you've got to deal with up front. So you think about, right, you need to get a baby seat, you need to get a crib, you need to buy some clothes, you need to get the diapers, you need to get all of these different things. You got to get some crackers. These are bluey crackers.
Gotta have the crackers. My man's not rolling the schnacks. The Arnott schnacks. Those are blueies.
Yeah, you must be getting hungry.
I am.
So the first thing I would say is, 1, throw yourself a great baby shower. And try and get as many of these things paid for as you can. But I mean, we're talking, when you add all these things up in all seriousness, like the stroller, the crib, none of these things are cheap, are they? And then they don't even want to go into them. You can leave the mic alone. Thank you. So we're probably, I think we're probably talking somewhere between like $3,000 and $5,000 for those.
Just for the upfront costs.
For the upfront costs. And then there's also the component of, like, I don't know, say you're in a rental property and that's not a right setup and you've got to move and there's moving costs. Then there's also the ongoing costs, Mike. And the thing I would say with the ongoing costs is, like any budget, everybody's budget is different. The only way to work this out is to make sure you write it all down and you work out, how's it all going to look once you got something like this walking around your house.
And is there anything just with like your experience with Cooper where you thought, I've got this planned out perfectly, and actually it was just a complete blindside?
Daycare still gets me every day. Like, daycare is so freaking expensive. There's different versions. You don't have to do the bougie version, of course, but look at them. Before we move on, we talk all the time about planning and growing our wealth, but protecting that wealth is just as important. That's why having the right insurance in place can help when life goes unexpectedly.
And that's why this episode is brought to you by Partners Life, a New Zealand operated, award-winning insurance provider with over 300,000 Kiwis insured and 89% of claims paid.
Partners Life understand that having some insurance is better than having no insurance. They have flexible and personalized solutions for any budget or situation.
Check out their website in our show notes below.
Review your health insurance. James, why on earth would that be something you want to do?
There's a few different reasons. One is, generally speaking, they're never going to be any healthier than they are when they are born. Obviously, some things can happen at birth, and really feel for those parents. But to get health insurance for your child when they're most likely to have no exclusions is a huge one. So it's one of the first things I did for Cooper. For most health insurance companies, I think you got to wait 6 months, but they can just sit on your policy and there's no cost to start with. But imagine if something happened to them and you had to deal with like the financial cost as well as the stress.
Are you going to exit him from the health insurance at some point? I was sitting on my parents' health insurance until like 30.
I hear that all the time, and they're just like, how long can I keep this quiet?
Yeah, I just never mentioned it. Cool. So next one we've got, build an emergency fund. I mean, it sounds really straightforward, but James, why is that something people should be focusing on?
Because, Mike, when you have children, you don't make money. you are usually going backwards. It's not the time of your life where you're running 100 miles an hour forward, you're buying properties, you do all these sort of things. You're just trying to financially just stop the bleeding. So you need to plan for all this stuff before the child comes, ideally before you get pregnant, and go, what are we going to do in terms of parental leave? Is it paid? Is it unpaid? If one of us isn't working, how much are we going backwards on a monthly, fortnightly basis? Because you do not want to be seeing your savings get eroded. Are you looking at me at all? Are you just looking at
I'm concentrating.
Mowing on the crackers?
Yeah, I just want a cracker.
But if you don't want to be looking at your savings going backward, and then like obviously you're sleep deprived, trying to learn this whole new thing. It's like getting a job and having no relevant qualifications whatsoever becoming a parent.
Yeah, and what like time period should people reasonably looking at if they're going, how long should this emergency fund be lasting?
Well, it depends on like a person's income. It really is a case. You really just want to go on one income. Are we going backwards or are we breaking even? If we're going backwards, making sure you've got a minimum of 12 months of how much you're going backwards.
Cool. Number 3, reassess your career and your parental leave options. James, why would that be important?
Well, when these little guys come along, funnily enough, you like to hang out with them. He's literally, I mean, look at this. This is a mini version of me. How cool, for anybody on the fence about having kids, how cool is it like this? And yes, when I was this age, my hair was blonde as well. But you're going to want to hang out with them. You're not going to want to be forced back to work. So one is you got to look at what your parental leave policy is. If one doesn't exist and you work for a small business, talk to the business about it. Now, Stephanie Powell from Crayon has this awesome website where you actually can see all of the different policies out there. So make sure to go check that out. But you really want to start to go, maybe like if you and I are having a child, Mike, maybe you have a better policy than I have, and that might impact our decision on who takes leave and when. I've also seen scenarios where one person takes leave, then the other person takes leave later. You just want to have like a clear plan of what you're doing.
Yeah, my sister is pregnant at the moment, expecting shortly, and her partner really wants to... What?
You didn't tell me this.
Yeah, Claire's expecting a baby. Yeah.
That's
June,
cool.
March, April. Yeah. A little boy. And her partner is really fed up with his job, but is like, I just need to hang on. You know, like I just need to hang on until it happens so I can lock in the parental leave because they've got pretty good parental leave stuff. Yeah. And it's actually quite common. Another friend of mine who lives in New York, exactly the same, works for Chase Bank. Yeah.
Very cool.
Cool. All right. So career and leave options. Career, obviously, you want to make sure you're in the career you want. The leave options, you know, that can be a difficult conversation to have. There can be quite a bit of stigma around it. So if you're in a small business, you know, make sure you plan that conversation out. Have a look at Stephanie's resources with Go Crayon, like absolutely amazing stuff there. Right. Number 4, our last tip, planning for those long-term goals. James, no one likes planning for long-term goals. I'm focusing on the kid.
Yeah, but you've actually got to be responsible for somebody else now. So you have to think about how you're going to be able to do these things. Like daycare for me costs $1,000 a fortnight. I've got to make sure I've got enough money aside to deal with that. Is your car like safe enough to be driving around? If you're driving around a Porsche, probably not going to be okay to be driving the kid around. If you're driving like a Suzuki,
what's not safe about a Porsche?
Suzuki, what? You just chuck the car seat in the front, would you?
In the front.
Yeah.
In the front trunk.
You just strap them to the roof, maybe. But a lot of people go, I need to get a nicer car. Maybe you need to do renos on your home. Maybe you need to upgrade. Maybe you're thinking down the track, you want to be able to contribute to like school fees or university costs, or crackers are expensive. There are lots of different costs that you need to plan for. Otherwise, you're going to look back and go, and this is not for everybody. But if you are the person that wants to be able to do these things for your kids, you need to plan these things out. Otherwise, you're going to go, well, I wish I could have done that, but I didn't think of it at the time.
Cooper, anything you want to add on this, Coopy?
Did you have fun?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, he did.
Very cool. Yeah. I know Emma's very happy that Cooper spoke. Can you say, Cooper, catch us next time? We'll work on that one.
Yeah. All right, guys. Much love to Partners Life for sponsoring the episode. Thank you very much to Hannah Blair for lending us Cooper for this one. Big thanks to Cooper. James, sign us off.
All right. Make sure to subscribe, review, like. Catch you next time.
Cheers.